Who would argue against the simple Swiss moral formula that effort and enterprise should lead to reward, and indulgence and laziness should be shunned? Behind these questions are observations that go to the heart of the Swiss system. R. James Breeding.
Where is all the money hiding in Switzerland? In this video, I'm going to be talking about the geography of wealth of Switzerland and why it has become the vault for European wealth and the safe place for people around the world to store their money. And particularly, we're going to go an overview the places within Switzerland where you are most likely to find that wealth. Welcome to Analyzing Finance with Nick. Today we're talking about the geography wealth of Switzerland. And first of all, before we get into it, let's explain why. Why Switzerland? Why so much of Europe's wealth concentrated in such a small country? I mean, Switzerland land-wise is the size of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island combined, and has about 8.5 million people. It's not a very big place, but has a disproportionate amount of European and global wealth. And there are several reasons why that's the case. First, Switzerland did not get involved in the two world wars. And because of that, they didn't really see the damage that a lot of other European countries, both in terms of physical property damage and human lives lost, balkanization of their country, or other turbulence associated with wars and post-war outcomes. As a result, Switzerland became a much more stable place for economic growth and a place that perceived as safe for foreigners to store their money. The neutrality, along with other economic factors, helped Switzerland develop a robust banking system that was originally developed to help subsidize the development of its intricate rail system, but has since become a hub of global private wealth management. Maybe less so today because of FATCA and other changes to bank secrecy laws, but generally Swiss banks are regarded very highly and are considered safe places to put money. The Swiss franc has a track record of being a very stable and strong currency and is appreciated against every other major currency in the world by a significant amount, including the US dollar. That strong currency helps attract wealth here. The high degree of public safety, efficiency, and how well the country works and how high a quality of a place to live also attracts wealthy from other places to move to Switzerland and or store their money there. So the combination, and also just the Swiss industriousness and the level of efficiency, organization, and thoughtfulness and intelligence, the plan to build this country the way it is, and the other strength of Switzerland is their unique ability compared to the rest of Europe to resist the increased demands for exorbitant welfare states and socialist tax policies. Switzerland has much lower taxes than the rest of Europe and a more free market than the rest of Europe. Wealth can not only grow faster and the economy can grow more, but the wealth that is produced can be kept, and that additional amount of wealth after taxes can compound much more quickly because the contributions and the after-tax contributions are much higher. Because of this, 1 out of every 6 people in Switzerland is a liquid millionaire, which is considerably higher ratio than really any other country in the world. Even the United States, which is known for having a lot of wealthy people, by most studies, it's only about 8% of households in the U.S. fit in that category. It's closer to 17 to 18% in Switzerland. That kind of the context of why this place has been so good for attracting money. Now, let's figure out where the money is. And we're going to just work our way north to south. We're going to talk about Basel, which is unique because it borders both Germany and France. It's like the tri-point of the three countries and is very involved in international trade. The Bank for International Settlements is based here, and a lot of other multinational organizations. The inner core of Basel has wealth, but most of the money in Basel is old money, and it is in surrounding suburbs. The northeast is really where the most notable place for old money in Basel. There are 2 suburban neighborhoods that stand out here. One of these places is known as Reihen, and the other one is Bettingen. And these are kind of known as the two wealthy old money enclaves within the northeastern part of Basel, and it's kind of like a Swiss peninsula because it's surrounded on three sides by the country of Germany. And then you have some suburbs in the south. We have Bottmingen, Basel, Broderholz, and Binningen, which are also known as generally more old money suburbs. Basel doesn't really have a particularly unique new money enclave, and so the new money that is in Basel just happens to move into these old money neighborhoods or live close by. Their numbers are not really large enough to change the character of a given neighborhood. So after we cover Basel, we're going to move next to kind of the core of the Swiss financial economy, Greater Zurich and Lake Zurich. Zurich is the largest city in Switzerland and the largest metro area in Switzerland. It is also the center of commerce and culture for the German part of Switzerland, and also other than Geneva is one of the two main areas of private wealth. And the whole essentially northern half of Lake Zurich is wealthy neighborhoods at this point. And there are some also in the southern part of Lake Zurich. We're going to start with the urban core of Zurich, where the downtown, basically from the south entrance of the Zurich main train station down to the lakeshore, the original old hub of the city, is generally regarded as an old money neighborhood. A lot of high-end retail there, a lot of very upscale apartments and townhomes in this particular area of town. And the other old money places are in the northeast suburbs of Wittkown and Zurichberg, which are up in the hills and have hillside single-family homes. Then when it comes to the new money in like the core of Zurich in the northwest, you have a neighborhood called Hong, which is becoming a new money place, including having the tallest skyscraper in the city. And then on the lakeshore to the immediate southeast and southwest, you have Seefeld and Anga, which are the new money areas right along the lake. And as we move further south on the coast of Lake Zurich, it is increasingly moneyed area. You have the western shore, which is known as the Silver Coast, which is towns such as Horgen, Talwil, Kilchberg, which is they were more middle class for most of the 20th century, but in recent decades, this has been emerging where a lot of expats and new money have moved over the years. Whereas the more old and established wealth is on the east side of Lake Zurich in towns like Zolikon, Kurstadt, Erlenbach, and Heidelberg. And this is known as the Gold Coast. On the east side, you have the Gold Coast of Lake Zurich, and on the west side, the Silver Coast of Zurich. Further south in Lake Zurich, you have two towns near the southern edge of the lake. You have Rapperswil-Jona in the St. Gallen canton, which is an old money place. I actually recorded the intro for the Economic Future of Switzerland video in Rapperswil. And the castle there is really cool to see, and it's very walkable, but it's very upscale lakefront community. And then on the other side, you have Pfaffikon, which is becoming increasingly attractive for new money because Schwyz is one of the lowest tax cantons in Switzerland. Not quite as low as Zug, but still a fairly low tax burden. And it's still really kind of within the greater Zurich metro area. It's the close, other than Zug, it's like the closest place to Zurich that is in a low tax area. And Laeken, which is another town in Schwyz, also is emerging as a new money area too. Pfaffikon is also locally famous for having Alpamare, which is the best water park in Switzerland and one of the best water parks in Europe. And then we're going to, last but not least, one of the most famous new money parts of Switzerland, and that is the canton of Zug. Zug particularly has a lot of hedge fund money. It has a lot of corporate headquarters or European headquarters for many multinationals and a lot of private equity and crypto presence because Zug has no canton tax. So you only pay Swiss federal tax, which the top rate is 12%, and that comes in a relatively high income level. And so Zug is very expensive. Like to rent a very small studio apartment, it's over $3,000 a month, and buying houses are 5 million USD plus. The reason is it attracts a lot of wealth, and it's mostly smaller towns. Is not super developed. Like you're not gonna have like a Zurich-sized city in Zug, but the two main cities that attract most of the wealth in Zug are the ones that are kind of closest to Zurich itself and near the lake of Zug. You have Zug itself, which is what the canton is named after, and Bar, which is a popular financial hedge fund type place, is in the Zug canton, a little bit north, and is fairly close to Zurich if you need to get there.
Next on our journey through exploring Switzerland's wealth, we're going to be talking about Lucerne, which is a famous city that's popular among tourists along Lake Lucerne. Lucerne has a little bit of new money, mainly in its new town, Neustadt, on the south side of the lakefront. And then you have Altstadt, which is the old money town and the old money part of the inner core of Lucerne. Outside of the core of Lucerne, you have three old money suburbs along the lake: Megen, Weges, and Wittnau, which are kind of their own little coves or peninsula. And then you also have another old money town on the edge of another peninsula at the lake, Kostenbau. So that is kind of where the money is for Lucerne. And if you go a little bit outside into the Alps, there's one other old money community as the Alpine village of Engelberg in the Obwalden canton. And Bern, there's not really much in terms of old and new money. Bern is kind of more of a middle class town, and there's a lot of government workers in Bern as well. But there is like the inner downtown core of Bern, like right along where the main river bend of the Aare River is, between where the Swiss National Bank's headquarters is and the edge of the peninsula. That old town, the Grünes Quartier, is generally known as being the oldest money part of Bern, if there really is an old money part of Bern. And the other main core apart from Lake Zurich in terms of wealth in Switzerland is another lake in the French part of Switzerland, Lake Geneva, also known as Lac Léman. Most of the northern coast of Lac Léman on the Swiss side is very wealthy, is generally regarded as the Gold Coast of the southern part of Switzerland. It's just one of the wealthiest places in Europe overall. And we're going to start with the south, which is the urban core of Geneva. Geneva is known for being one of the global capitals of private wealth, the European headquarters of the World Trade Organization, and many other major global financial organizations that are the backbone of the liberal international order. The combination of its wealth, financial expertise, and Swiss neutrality leads it to be a popular place to bring international headquarters. It's also probably the most cosmopolitan region of Switzerland. The old town is basically the wealthiest places in Europe, and you walk around and you can kind of just get the vibe. A lot of wealthy tourists from all over the world come here. You see advertisements for major Swiss watch companies. A lot of them have operations here, including Rolex. It's kind of a hub for high-end luxury shopping. If you go to the east side of the lake, is possibly the most expensive and wealthiest suburb in all Switzerland, and that is Coligny. The average house here exceeds $20 million in price. And generally, when you drive even on the freeway, the traffic's really crowded because it's a fairly big city, but they have a really small amount of lanes on the highway. And literally next to the main drag into downtown Geneva from the highway, you just see these tall gates and these mansions literally just lined up on the lakeshore, and the whole lakeshore really for several kilometers is basically just loaded with these French Riviera style mansions, but on the lake here in Switzerland. Other old money towns really along the lake include Versailles, which is a historic lake side estates, mostly common with banking elites. And there are newer condos which attract flat tax expats and UN staff. It is still considered quite pricey. The average cost per square meter for a house is 10 to 15,000 euros. The next town I mentioned is Coppet. It's very aristocratic. They have a historic Coppet castle and a lot of notable estates. It's known for attracting European heirs from across the continent who prioritize privacy. It's not as flashy as some of the other cities on the Lac Léman coast. The next one is Nyon. This is probably the most new money leaning city of the bunch. You have some corporate tech operations, a lot of finance professionals living here. It's not as exclusive as some of these older money towns along the coast, but it's almost as wealthy. And about 25% of the population in Nyon is expatriates. Nyon is that it is within 10 kilometers of one of the most prestigious boarding schools in the world, which is known as Le Rosé. Le Rosé is known as the School of Kings. It's got tuition that is about 150,000 Swiss francs or about 190,000 USD per year. They have summer campuses in Rome and a winter campus in Gstaad. And it is known for being, again, a school that attracts a lot of billionaires in the past and the present and their children, oligarchs on their children from foreign countries, as well as the old money locally in Switzerland. And yeah, like in general, Switzerland is the hub of prestigious and six-figure tuition boarding schools in Europe, kind of like how the Northeast US, particularly New England, is the hub for these prestigious boarding schools in the United States. The other one that is quite famous that is also in this region is the School of College Alpin Beau Soleil, which is in the town of Villars-sur-Olon, a little bit inland in the mountains, but still kind of generally in the Lac Léman region. So outside of the boarding schools, the next town we're going to really be talking about, which is the end of this Gold Coast, is Rolle. And Rolle is notable not just for being like the outer edge of the Swiss Gold Coast, but it is also known for having a lot of corporate executives who live here because it is a city that offers a lot of tax incentives for foreign companies to open their European or non-home country headquarters. Nestle has a presence here too, so there's a significant amount of Nestle executives enroll as well. Several companies you've definitely heard of, like Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific Partners, which is the bottling company for Coca-Cola in Europe, is based here. Philip Morris International, his global headquarters is in Rolle. Chiquita Brands International, his European headquarters is here in Rolle. Nissan chose Rolle for its European headquarters, despite its Renault alliance. Acer Group moved its European headquarters here in 2010. Verizon Media, or what was Yahoo, their European HQ here in Rolle. Weatherford International also has moved its European headquarters to Rolle. George Fisher AG is another example. And then Archer Daniels Midland is the final example. It's their European headquarters. They're mainly based in Illinois, but they bring their European operations here to Rolle. And so that kind of wraps it up. But that doesn't mean it's the end of Lac Léman. There is still towns on the east side, even though Lausanne itself is wealthy, but it's kind of more of a college town, known for having some more prestigious universities in Switzerland. And the more artistic college vibe kind of overpowers the old money here. But there are two kind of old money neighborhoods within Lausanne. One is Ouchy and the other one is Pouilly. And they are on the lake coast here near Lausanne. And the last place I want to talk about in Lac Léman is Montreux, which is famous for the annual Montreux Jazz Festival in the summer. It's kind of more laid back, still a very fancy high-end place, but without as much of the flash of Geneva. So the main neighborhoods is really just the downtown core of Montreux itself, and the neighborhood on the northern side, Clarence, is really kind of the east side of Lac Léman. As we mentioned, the old money vacation space, and when we were talking about the Institut Liberals, we have to include Gstaad. It's more of a seasonal town that attracts a lot of ski tourists in the winter, but there are some wealthy people who make this their year-round home. Last but not least, in our Switzerland analysis, we're going to talk about Ticino, which is the Italian canton. And if I personally had to live in Switzerland, it would be here in Ticino due to my love for Italian food, the fact that this is one of the places that consistently does not snow in the winter and is the most mild and warm climate in all of Switzerland. And you get a lot of the Italian charm, Catholicism, food, and culture with the efficiency and organization of Switzerland. So it's kind of a nice mix of both. And they really kind of are two main areas of money in Ticino. There's new money who also live in these towns, but they're not large enough in size to overpower the old money presence. So there really aren't any unique, really new money enclaves in Ticino. But let's start in the north with Locarno, which statistically has the warmest weather in all of Switzerland, which makes it appealing. And it's on a lake of its own that it shares with Italy. And the two main towns of wealth in Locarno are Locarno itself and Ascona on to its west. And they are these two peninsulas divided by a river that goes into Lago Maggiore. And now we want to go to the other part of money in Ticino, which is Lugano itself, known as the financial capital of Ticino. It's right along Lake Lugano. I've been here before and I loved it. It's great swimming in the lake in the summer, and it's got this really relaxing vibe. It's mainly Italian-speaking canton, but there's a lot of English here due to a high expatriate population and a strong presence of the financial sector. Within Lugano, the main neighborhoods are the downtown core. As we know, with the European cities, a lot of the old money is concentrated in downtown cores, as well as Paradiso and the neighborhood of Castagnola. And then if we go further south on the southernmost point of Switzerland, that is on the border of Italy and also on the southern part of Lake Lugano, is Moncorte and Vico Moncorte. This is the other kind of wealthy enclave within Ticino. And with that, that wraps up Switzerland. If you want more of my thoughts on the whole country's economic future, I recommend watching my video titled The Economic Future of Switzerland. What are your thoughts? Am I missing any places of Swiss wealth that should be included? What are your thoughts on Switzerland? And where else should I cover in this series for Europe? Let me know. And where do you think are the old and new money locations in your town? I'd love to start a lively conversation in the comments. Thank you for watching.